looking out for the composition and the situation had given them. But we are back into Champion Select, and once again, we're going to see very similar bans here as the Fiora goes on the side of INTZ. And there's the Gangplank Gnar once again, and that's going to be a first pick Shen extraordinarily fast for Dark Passage.
So fast, we didn't get to actually see the end of the bans.
But got some ban lag. Told you.
Yeah, well, that comes through. Shen first pick. We're seeing different sides from both teams, and it's going to be interesting to see how they play now that Elwin now is finding himself perhaps towards a team fight top laner.
Yeah. And they don't want to play against Vladimir again. I mean, that's all it takes to really throw the spanner in. All of a sudden, Echo versus Shen. You know, Shen can stop the third proc, so it's actually not a bad matchup for Elwin. But you're right, they both have to team fight well. And we've seen that he seems much more comfortable in the side lane, where Yang seems very comfortable around 10 different people.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good call out on the Vlad pit, on the Vlad ban. Kind of unfortunate from Dark Passage, but now they got to start from scratch once again. How they want to play this out. It looks like they are committing to team fights, but INTZ recognizes that, and of course, they get the picks they want.
Yeah, Sivir Gragas going to be locked in here by INTZ. A lot of engage power and disengage as well from both of these champions. Flexibility for INTZ, and Revolta once again on the Gragas. And Spawn, this goes back to what you were talking about.
So you think that, but you know, he didn't pick his own champion, Atlas. Maybe that's a top lane Gragas. I find it hilarious when jugglers do this. Like,
yeah, right.
Pick me Gragas, I'll grab the Sivir. Why? You know, we'll pretend we're flexing it. That's a full AP support Gragas.
Obviously.
Obviously. Yeah, completely agree. That is so much teamfight priority right there. I mean, both of them have incredible control, if nothing else. And also the fact that, you know, the big CC that's probably going to come out is at Shen's Fort. You know, something going to be picked up, something like a Rek'Sai, you would assume, to deliver Shen to the back line. And as long as Sivir can live through that, should be able to turn around and start smacking into them. So I like what INTZ have so far.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what Dark Passage could go here to really complement the Shen. Now, admittedly, that's exactly what I would expect here, but now their team fighting is not as strong as I would have liked.
Yeah, and you say that's what you would expect, but all of a sudden there's like no support to ride into the back line, no jungle to ride into the back line. I actually wonder like who Shen takes into the back of the team fight, or whether this is now just a defensive pick, because we've seen great success with like Hecarim Shen, Rek'Sai Shen, or even something like Alistar Shen, where, you know, you piggyback the headbutt pole combo and you're able to get in there. So whilst I love the Nidalee pick, I don't like it in conjunction to the other picks that have been picked up in this comp.
It's the mix that I'm really questioning here, where they did pick the team fight for the Shen, but of course if you have the Shen, maybe perhaps in the past you could have gone for a Hecarim, could have used it now for a Cassio, which has been banned out. Their options are fairly limited here, so now it feels like they're playing towards lanes specifically, but if you're playing towards lanes, Shen may have a decent laning phase now that the Echo got locked in, but once the laning phase is done, your team fighting is going to be fairly scrappy.
Are we looking for a Lissandra once again here, gentlemen?
I think that depends what the AD carry is, because I think, you know, you're lacking a little bit of damage in that regard. She does give you a little bit more team fight control. Maybe 1-3-1. Yeah, Lissandra is an opportunity.
Yeah,
thinking like it's another way to get Shen in, right? When you don't have as very many options based on the fact that jungle and support have both been locked in.
We've seen the combination before on this team specifically. We get the Shen Lissandra with a Lucian pick, gives Lucian a lot more freedom. We've seen Zeitnot put himself in a little bit of poor situation. Last game, he didn't have much of space to really maneuver in the last team fight. Now that he would theoretically have the Lissandra pick, he can honestly go in a lot more freely. I would like to see it working for them here.
Well, looks like the Talia could be the option. Kozki's going to lock that one in. Oh no! The last minute switch over to the Varus, and that's Ezreal there as well. That's a lot of poke coming in from Dark Passage.
That's a blind pick Varus. I mean, that's confidence, if nothing else, out of CosQ.
It's going to be interesting to see. They've changed up their style here completely. Look towards that poke composition, which is fine. I like the Trundle support here if you can get that going, and the Shen insurance on top of that. If they have priority, they can head up mid and decide to smack the turret, smack whoever they want. Ezreal, Varus, and Nidalee is fairly threatening, but we already talked about it. INTZ have a lot of hard engage here. Their team fight is fairly strong if they get into the back line. Lissandra, however, that gets locked in, that's just ridiculous.
I just don't understand. I'm going to completely disagree. I just think that's two really poor picks. I mean, you've already seen the Bard, you've seen the Echo. There's so much lockdown CC. Shen ain't saving anyone. I mean, they get hit by CC, they are dead in this composition. Like, they're just not tanky enough to live through the burst that's going to come out of a Sivir, going to come out of a Lysandra. I mean, flanks can come through from the Raptor pit now. I mean, they are a siege composition, yes, but they just don't have the tools to be able to get away unless, like, Rogu's Trundle is god tier.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, how are you supposed to siege against, like, almost the best counter siege and wave clear that you could possibly get out of most of these champions?
It really does depend on how the early game goes. Pre-6, it's fine. Of course, you're not going to have the ability to just roam out pre-6 unless if you have yourself an early swap as we did the first game. But regardless of that, once they hit 6, once Bard hits 6 especially, you're not going to be looking for or at least if you're going to be looking for that siege, you have to be sure that you have the vision down to be able to disengage that.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. As soon as they get any kind of deep vision here, INTZ, they're going to be able to look for double TP plays. They're going to be able to set up, and we've complemented their vision a lot. So I think that this time around, Dark Passage need to be much better at clearing out those pink wards. I mean, getting back priority and being able to set up correctly. Because, yeah, we keep going back to it, but there's just so, like, their composition is good, don't get me wrong, but there's just so little margin for error. Like, one mistake in this game can completely get away from you.
Yeah, and what we were talking about as far as the, I guess, weakness of Dark Passage and what they had last time around was not playing to their composition. Now what they have is a composition that needs to be specifically tailored for while you're on the Rift.
And, you know, like, lots of different things. They've got a global ultimate, sure, but they've also got double tier being built up. They have, once again, a non-shoving AD carry support duo with admittedly high priority jungle. There are just lots of, like, different mismatches that is going to come together and try and make a siege comp late game. But it's about getting it there. It's about nurturing it, getting through those troughs and being able to, you know, withstand the onslaught that's going to come out of INTZ.
Well, we'll see whether they can do it as we are into game number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, Dark Passage taken to the blue side as INTZ will have some red shorts this time around. A very different look for Dark Passage as we see the Varus moving out onto your screen right there. That skin, fantastic, but we'll see whether the pick is actually going to work out this time around as the Bard's going to move out of the brush, but Macau says, nope, this is my brush.
Yeah, this composition coming out of Dark Passage is definitely harder to execute.
Yeah, Zeitnot going to get Meep slapped there as well as Jockster looking to get rid of the Trundle at the same time.
I really like the INTZ's invades this tournament. Every single time they've even won a game based off the pressure. So constantly looking for it, seeing if they can get a pick.
Yang, or if Kirei had gone a little bit further, it may have been time winded. Didn't happen.
See whether they start Raptor Camp here. One thing I've seen a couple of times from Gragas is it started Body Slam specifically. So, you know, top laner will throw a Timewinder across the Raptors. You know, maybe a Shard comes across and then you just clean them up really quickly. Get the level 2 and Smite red buff. It means that you can't be invaded at all. But not going to be the case. What the heck? Warlord's Bloodlust Ezreal.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
He's already defensive before. This is actually just going to be even worse.
That's a Bond of Stone Trundle as well.
Yeah, that's...
Well, in this lane, I understand why he's going Bond of Stone.
Okay.
For the laning phase specifically. But you're right, late game you prefer to see something like the Grasp of the Undying picked up.
Well, we'll see whether Zeitnot can make this Warlord's Bloodlust work.
It's going to be very difficult for Dark Passage early. I understood that they picked the jungle matchup. As I said, they want to give Kirei that priority, but he doesn't have lanes working for him. The only lane that can really shove up is PosQ. But it doesn't matter if you have the mid laner matchup going for you. Echo is going to be able to constantly shove in. Bottom lane, the Bard and Sivir is going to be doing the same. He has a time limit in every invade.
The Turkish have woken up, as you can see, really bringing that vote back. That was 89 in favor of INTZ in game number 1. Now game number 2, 52 to 48. Couldn't be closer.
Yeah, I'd like to think of this as a bit of a...
Yeah, could. Couple percent, but I was, you know, trying to make it sound as dramatic as possible. Thanks, Spawn.
No worries.
I'd like to think of this as a bit of a rematch, honestly, between regions. Of course, the last time we've seen INTZ versus a Turkish team, it was in Turkish soil. So now that we're seeing that once again, last time Supermassive was the one that got sent to international tournament based off of it. Let's see if Brazil can actually carry us through.
Well, they're set up for it so far with that first game win, but they have to follow it up with 2 more. If my maths is correct.
This time you are.
Thank you very much. I'm going to check myself every time. I assure you. Tucker's still a bit slow. Cosq looking for the auto attack, cancels it. Has a big minion wave to deal with though. Of course, Varus not known for his shoving ability necessarily, but will be able to start clearing out waves as this game goes on.
Yeah, not early. I mean, as he gets some more points into his queue, he certainly can push up that wave. Straight line wave clear, something that's very underrated in League of Legends. I mean, more frequent recently, we've seen like the Victors come in and stuff like that in the last year, but it was something that used to be overlooked a lot. That's actually really nice damage here.
Yeah, going very aggressive. Blooded Quiver actually, can it be procced? It is Cosq not going to look for the flash, and I was half expecting him to, knowing Cosq, but doesn't. Holds onto it. Revolta was in position as well.
I mean, control the wave too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's no reason to flash after it because he can deny CS now. He's the auto attack champion, and he's actually playing towards the side of the map that he knows his jungle is on. So that's actually really intelligent out of Cosq. Need to see more play like that out of him, in fact.
I was going to say, we'll just ignore the surprise. Revolta.
Oh, this is smart from Revolta. Okay, so Revolta doing this is actually incredibly smart because this matchup is interesting as Curé is coming in.
Yeah, Spear doesn't land, but Cosq gets the flash looking for the... There it is! First blood! Procs the Blighted Quiver and knows exactly the damage. That was beautiful.
Certainly was. So Cosq actually comes up huge with the pretty much 1v1 outplay. I agree, it was a good initial move from Revolta, but as soon as they had eyes on Nidalee, run down. I mean, why are teams so like hellbent? Turrets do not equal safety in League of Legends anymore. Like, run into your river, I mean, get away from the Nidalee, go towards your Bard. You know that he has priority in the lane. Trundle hasn't followed yet. He's still sitting underneath the turret. Yeah. I mean, that is twice at mid lane for Tokas. Has kind of fallen apart a little bit.
Yeah, but this lane is still difficult for Varus. I like the lane matchup is interesting that, of course, Cosq can honestly shove in and get proper trades, but the fact that he can shove in can really bite him because Revolta, that hard engage coming in from both Lissandra and Gragas is always going to be a major factor, so Curé has to be in the area. Now that they got themselves this massive lead going from, it's going to be great for Curé that he can actually look to contest Raptors quite more frequently. But of course, you have to play it a little bit cautiously because Nidalee Varus get one locked down, they will die.
Yeah, and one more time, Zeitnot was being shoved in, pressured. The Bard left to try and make a play somewhere, which is always risky. And then the play doesn't come through, so now bottom lane is also a little bit behind in CS. So not only is it one lane that gets punished, it actually spills over into another lane that should have a very clear advantage. I mean, if Bard was just staying home right now, there's so much harass underneath that turret. So I think that, you know, 1,000 gold lead for Dark Passage is pretty massive at this stage of the game one more time.
Yeah, and Gragas is far behind. This is a thing that we see constantly when Revolta puts himself on this pick. If he's going up against an incredibly aggressive jungler, he does not react well to it. So let's see how he works out. Actually catches Curé in the river here.
Yep, Pink Ward should be taken down here as well as Revolta decides doesn't want to contest, just puts down his own ward. Piercing Arrow goes wide. Toppers moves out of the way. Hail of Arrows comes in. There's the Chains of Corruption as well as Cosq's going to get turned around on. Of course, level 6 is here from Tockers. Not quite sure what Cosq thought he'd be able to achieve, but Curé now has to run away as well. The 2v2 just working out for INTZ.
Yeah, and that's the layering of CC we're talking about. I mean, you can take Cleanse all you want, but he got 100 to 0 pretty much without having the flash available because he flashed forward for the previous kill. There's one thing being able to pressure, but the way you should do it is, you know, shove under the turret, make them choose between CS, not, you know, try and go for these weird trades. So Cosq has a great play to kick the game off, a little bit of a 4-1 there. Yeah. Gets cleaned up.
He just has to play cautiously, as I said before. If he puts himself in that position, his lead's just gone to the dumpster. So, I mean, Gray was there, but either of them get locked down, especially towards Lissandra and Gragas. And you know you have Joxer looking for roam constantly. Then have to watch out, but it looks like they're just going to swap out here.
Yeah, and the swap's being answered, but the Gragas is on the other team. I think that's a big thing to watch if, you know, Curé doesn't path towards top side of the map now. There is the opportunity just to, you know, flick either Elwyn or one of the duo lane towards the rest of the team and siege this one up. So
the wave is not as large. The next wave is coming up close, but Dark Passage are in a good position to just deny this. So. It was a good look. It was a good play for INTZ. Didn't work out too well simply because Dark Passage had a better response now.
Yeah, I think that that's you know, telegraphed. They knew that it was coming this time around, so they matched very well with their duo, who's went back not just on tier but tier Sheen, which is quite a good place for an Ezreal to be. I mean, it gets rid of like Sheen now gives you a little bit more mana, so it gets rid of that early weak spot where you used to have just like tier and nothing stacked up. Yeah. So it feels nice and good. So yeah,
the extra CDR as well, fantastic for an Ezreal.
Yeah. So at this stage of the game, they're just going to look to farm up, neutralize as much as possible, and matching that rotation allows them to do that.
Oh, that was sexy. Well threaded, Kire.
You know what that was? That was the Nidalee buff coming through the base damage. I actually didn't think that would actually be the execution coming out of this. That's pretty solid.
There's another one. So once again, Nidalee buff.
No, that was a
Demonstrated.
demonstrated Varus.
Oh, was it?
Nidalee was at red buff.
There's too many spears in this game.
He shoots an arrow.
Yeah.
Looks like a spear.
They
not
look
exactly.
really similar.
Nah.
All right, my apologies. But that did a lot of damage as well. CosQ already doing a lot of work. Only level 7. Level 9 is, of course, when it starts to really bring the pain. Not to mention having a few more items. Double longsword. Just wasn't expecting that out of a piercing arrow. However, Tokkers still going to be doing fine. Farming up quite nicely. 5 ahead in CS. As he moves back into the mid lane. Now with that health bar replenished.
And this is a stage of the game that, you know, as the Ezreal, as the Varus, you just look to control minion waves. As Kire actually going for a sneaky dragon here. Meanwhile, they want to play on the mid lane. They've fought over the Bard for the ulti as well as Revolta. But that means the dragon is going to go down uncontested. That's really nice play.
Yeah. So first Infernal Drake. Going to fall in favor of Kire as Revolta almost gets in range of that smite.
That was a
Next
little
dragon
tense.
will be the ocean.
That was a little tense because it is a risky play to go for. Of course, Nidalee is going to be taking a lot of damage from that dragon, especially since it's Infernal. So he's able to back away completely, get the dragon for himself. And the lanes are working out well for Dark Passage too. So even though we had a bit of a question on the picks themselves, it's working quite well for them.
Yeah, 100%. I think the reason that it's actually risky is because, you know, duo lane on the top side, you know that they have disappeared into Fog of War. If that's found early, you have to actually back away completely, give it up to what is a team that comes online a little bit earlier than yours in regards to team fighting, because you're looking to set up sieges as a Dark Passage lineup. So I think that, you know, not only for the fact that it's in Nidalee, there are many more reasons why that was a pretty brave call, but it comes out trumps. Bravery rewarded.
Good pillar comes down here as well. Jox actually flashes out of the way.
Did he not have his
Can you not
magical journey?
Yeah, I was going to ask whether you could actually
can.
use it through a pillar, trundle
you
pillar.
can.
You can.
Well, I don't know why I didn't.
Neither do I. Maybe someone needs to tell Josh to that.
Yeah.
That was actually really interesting. That was a great trundle pillar regardless, but hard being pinned up against the wall and up against the trundle is never a good idea.
Well, better than dying. Using the flash is now Tokkers and Revolta, looking to try and get a rotation towards the top side.
Yeah,
Lock down one of these slippery members.
This is definitely the scariest part of the game for Dark Passage, or at least their bottom lane. Lissandra right now has proper pinks on the pathway to top side and is able to just completely contest the shove for CosQ here. So if he just shoves it out every time he walks out of Fog of War, CosQ and Kire definitely cannot take the easiest pathway towards helping Dark Passage's bottom lane. So INTZ right now, even though Jockster lost Flash, are in a good position.
Yeah, doing a good job, however, making sure that they have vision in this topside river.
Oh, Kire cleaned out that pink. That was actually, it was risky, but it worked out for him and he just hopped over the wall.
Tokkers once again clearing out the wave. Of course, CosQ giving a lot of respect to the claw. Tokkers does have that ultimate back up one more time. There is cleanse and flash here for CosQ, so may not necessarily die next time around, but spear landing here is INTZ understand that they will have to vacate this turret, especially with Macau so low. Picks up some mana. That cheeky spear. Dark Passage unable to set up the siege just yet with Revolta waiting in the wings.
Such a good start for Kire right now. After the first game, playing really well for his team, for himself as well. Now he's just controlling a part of the map that Dark Passage generally should not have power over.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, we're talking about a BF sword versus a Sheen pretty much in terms of combat effectiveness. And it really has been that control over the wave. As now the engages come in, everyone gets stunned up. The CosQ's here.
Yeah, looks for it. Does actually line up the ultimate, and there is Sight not picking it up with the True Shot Barrage. Now Revolta gets subjugated, but in the backline, Yang's going nuts. Tokkers falls down low. Look at these piercing arrows from CosQ, and Elwind grabs the last kill. That is 3 for 1 in favor of Dark Passage.
That is fantastic play. One more time out of Kire. He clears out all the vision, contests the red buff with his duo lane because they had the shove there, gets the earlier rotation out of CosQ, and then they're able to collapse on the back line. They're going to open up the map here, get first structure bonus most likely, and a huge advantage for their team.
Yeah, that was the first time that we've seen CosQ actually come out ahead with that positioning here. He actually positioned fairly aggressively, alone once again, but he was able to cordon off the rest of the team in INTZ and get the kills going for him. Well done there.
Yeah, very nicely played. He's going to give them a 3,000 or close to 3,000 gold lead.
It's actually closer to 4,000. I mean, they're about 23,000 to 19 at the moment.
Hey, yeah, true.
This is absolutely huge. Let's take another look at this. Revolta gets his body slam blocked, and then Kozq gets a huge two-man piercing arrow. All the damage comes across. They were looking for the flank out of Yang and Tockers. They do manage to pick up Zeitnot, but really it was Kozq that had all of the priority in this fight. Correa able to continue to reapply that red buff.
That's sick fadeaway jump shot there as well from Kozq as he got hit by the cask.
Yeah, that's just a really good team fight. And now everything kind of lining up for this Dark Passage lineup.
Not to mention the backs. I mean, look at these buys coming out from Dark Passage. Zeitnot has his Iceborne Gauntlet as well as the Manamune being collected by Kozq.
Every single one of their members have pings. That's a big point. If they have priority now, which is insane to even say since the Dark Passage bottom lane really not only do they have the items, but they picked for this as well. So now that they're constantly getting shoved in, if you have a 5-ping strong Dark Passage here, sure, Shen's not going to be joining you up anytime soon, but that just means that at this point in time, Revolta actually is going to be completely isolated from this top side of the map. And if he ever decides to go for it, he's going to die.
Kozq has to use his cleanse and flash to get out of that ultimate as Tockers takes a piercing arrow, but there's the flash taunt, and Elwin picks up the kill. The ultimate was almost unnecessary from Kozq, but he was celebrating as they take down the mid laner. Yang now to clear up this mid lane farm.
Huge play out of Elwin there. The taunt flash is incredibly on point. As soon as he got out of that teleport, whoa. Zeitnot starting to dominate Macau as well across the map. INTZ are falling apart.
Yeah, that was a bit of a desperate move in the mid lane because you knew that cleanse was there, it was available. You didn't know where Kirei was, so they were just looking to get any real play going for them. And the fact that it turned on their head means that it's even worse for INTZ. They really don't have a point in this game, point on the map that they can really rely upon.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they should have been looking more towards vision control, regaining control of their jungle, you know, making the rotation between top and bottom, maybe wait for the double teleport to come back available now the map's opening up, and get a pick off from an over-aggressive Dark Passage. Instead, they're the ones that go over-aggressive. Great reaction replay comes out of the Shen and punishes any aggression that happens. So, you know, that means that next time they go to look for a similar play, they need to check it a little bit further. Yeah. It's just one of those things that Shen adds. He appeared at the last team fight as if by magic. It was his ultimate, didn't use the teleport. This time it's available.
Well, as far as catch-up mechanics are concerned, how are we feeling about INTZ getting back in to a good position moving into the late game? Because, of course, we mentioned the poke-style composition, that siege mentality. The DP have a weakness that can be exploited here by INTZ with the tools that they have?
Well, at this point, I think they are playing just a tiny bit greedy. I don't think Correa needs to go for this solo anymore. He has his lanes are so strong that, especially if your team is still not really back on the map, then you don't have to look for it. You can really just try and isolate as many weaknesses as possible and just take the game from that point forward. With that being said, it's very difficult for INTZ at this point in the game to really even prey on that weakness. So right now, they just need to try and stall out the game. They have a good team fight. They knew that going into the draft. If they can stall out the game, which is saying quite a bit, especially since they're going up against the poke composition, then they have to look for it.
So it gets to the point where, you know, because of the composition that has been put together out of Dark Passage, you're going to have to eventually take a risk as well, because they're going to continue to shove you in. I mean, you can go towards 1-3-1 a little bit more successful than they can, because, you know, not really going to be matched by Kozq or Zeitnot in a side lane, not even really Correa. So, you know, there are options for them to be able to look for that, but they're falling further and further behind, and the tempo is not going anywhere. So I think at a certain point, you know, when they do group up, you look for your huge, you know, wombo combo play onto either Kozq or Zeitnot, try and lock someone down and blow them up before the fight even begins. And hope that, you know, Shen was looking to join by Stand United and gets blown up.
Well, red buff going to be stolen away here by Kirei one more time. Another pillar goes down as Jockster going to get speared in the back of the head. That's more than a third of his health bar.
And Rogu and Kirei have been playing so well this set, where they have just been honestly duoing really well as partners, just clearing out jungle. We've seen that a lot from Revolta and Jockster. This time we're seeing it from the Turkish lineup here.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I said that, you know, Kirei had already had a really good game one. Well, that's carried over hugely into game 2. I mean, he's 2 levels ahead. He's like 20 CS of jungle creeps ahead as well at only 18 minutes into the game. That's pretty massive. So I think that, you know, he's stepping up, proving that he can be a legitimate threat. If they can make a poke comp work here with Italy, that's pretty impressive.
Still relatively early days at 19.5 minutes, but Jockster going to get hit by all of the poke, has to magically journey his way out. True Shot Barrage is going to do it, thanks to the ward at the top of the red buff pit, and that's 6-2 now in favor of Dark Passage.
He should have seen that True Shot Barrage come out. There is a ward in there, in the red buff camp. Probably should have been able to flash that one, but not able to do it. Gets picked up.
Yeah, and we talked about it in the Big Band that Bard is the real threat here for this Dark Passage lineup if they want to go up in Siege. Bard ulti is going to be a major go button for this team. Now that he's gone off the map, they can actually just look to set up for this mid lane turret.
Yeah, and they did. They got some good chip damage. They don't stick around because they know the flank is still available. Instead, they disappear into the jungle, keep picking up more advantage for themselves. And now all of a sudden, you know, Yang has to back away from the turret he's defending. Really love the way that Dark Passage is playing this game.
Zeitnot doesn't actually have to blow the flash or anything. Arcane shifts out of the way with the potential flash body slam from Revolta.
And honestly, this really opens up the series because with this composition, the fact that they were able to utilize it this well, had a lot of questions how they were going to actually make it happen. Of course, the early game went in their favor, but thought that it was going to be much harder going into the rest of the game, the mid game, but their mid game right now is actually incredibly solid. So, especially since they are just able to change up their style on a whim, next game, regardless of the result of this game, is actually going to be interesting.
Yeah, it shows that they know what this composition is capable of as well. I mean, pick and siege. They've been doing that all game so far, starting off very, very quickly. Tokka's now trying to start off what is the 1-3-1 as he moves towards the top side of the map. Remember, double teleport against single is going to be in favor of this INTZ roster, and we'll see whether this is going to help get them back into the game. We spoke about the fact that they do have a lot of catch-up sort of ideas as far as a team, and they have demonstrated that in the past.
Yeah.
It's a big test right now.
And you mentioned it, that's what they need to really look towards, that 1-3-1 to stall out this game. If they're ever going to hope to stop the poke and siege composition coming through, then it has to be with Lissandra heading up that side wave and constantly forcing members up to that.
And not only just because of Lissandra, I mean, Bard is so much more effective in a 1-3-1 setup than what Trundle is ever going to be. I mean, really, Dark Passage must play this game in lanes underneath turrets from now on if they really want to run away with it. Whereas, you know, INTZ, they're looking to try and shove up side lanes as much as they possibly can, just be a Bard into Fog of War and see if they can get any picks. So I think that, you know, 7,000 gold pretty much is the lead right now. That is massive at 20 minutes into the game. But if Dark Passage don't start accelerating this game, you know, setting up good vision around the Baron pit, making sure that they're sieging down turrets, there are windows where, you know, INTZ can jump back into control.
Well, Zeitnot does have his QSS and the 2-item power spike of the Manamune.
Oh, this could
the
be
Iceborne Gauntlet as Jockster possibly caught out one more time. The slow comes in from the Rylai's. It's already completed by Kure, who pings it onto Revolta at the same time. So the escape attempted, but Tokka's takes a spear as well. This poke, especially this accuracy out of Kure, is ridiculous as he misses a spear, of course.
Yeah, but this is the thing with this composition, that it really does support Kure's ability to continue to chase up. You have the Trundle Pillar, you have the Iceborne Gauntlet coming out of Ezreal, and of course the Rylai's Crystal Scepter coming out of Kure here. So if he gets one Nidalee Spear, you can actually continuously follow up, and so just one pick can really snowball from that point.
Yeah, completely agree. And the fact that, you know, they use that to once again not over chase, but get priority in the jungle, you know, get that deep vision. Now they can rotate themselves into the top lane, make sure that they're away from the setup. This is really nice play coming out of the whole of the Dark Passage lineup. And, you know, Kure is spearheading it, but this time everyone's playing within themselves.
Revolta possibly caught out of position, chains the corruption, but he body slams his way out. Kure doesn't get the swipe, and the spear isn't going to do it either. Macau actually tanks one up with the spell shield and dodges the other. Nicely done, and Revolta has to go back to base.
Yeah, but once again, you know, that's double summon a spell for one and a key ultimate out of Macau to try and save Revolta, who had also burned his ulti. I mean, that is just so much burnt out of the INTZ lineup to stop a kill, pretty much.
Exactly, and this is the best thing about this composition, is they actually just, you can win this game without ever getting a kill. You just really want them to get off the map, and the fact that they were able to get Gragas off the map completely, A, they stole the red buff, and B, they're able to set up for this nice topside push, which means that they're constantly looking to deny. That means they snowball more vision into this red jungle if they don't want to actually continue pushing up this top turret. And it just continues to snowball.
But I mean, look how much damage just came out one more time out of CosQ. Pretty much destroys Jockster. That turret's going to fall down soon. I mean, they're playing really well through this topside vision, walking back and forward. And doesn't look like right now, because they sent Jockster back, that there is really any counter-engage opportunity here for INTZ, who are pretty much going to just have to give up a turret.
Oh my goodness. Well, Revolta can now at least take a couple of these spears as the Spectre's Cow comes in, but that turret did not last very
Deep
long at all.
teleport
And Yang
and cancelled.
Oh, wow.
That's really rough.
Yeah, it actually feels like rush hour coming out of the fountain here. Every single time you get poked out, you have to come back to the map, and so it just feels like, once again, Dark Passage really taking this game away.
And I think that, you know, this is really key to point out, because Kareem nearly got the kill, and they've invested so much on the INTZ lineup to save him, and they still lose the objectives regardless. So that was a clutch play coming out. I guess a cancel teleport out of Yang. It's not a huge deal because it's going to be back available quite soon. But they just have nowhere on the map that they can safely farm, that they have any control over.
And honestly, INTZ, they really should be going for these dragons. These are ocean dragons are so powerful going up against the Dark Passage lineup, because if you can actually heal up the initial poke and actually stop yourself from heading back to base, it'd be so powerful, but they're just never in position.
Yeah, the
just
opposite
so far
is true
behind.
as well,
Yeah.
right? Based on the fact that double Ocean gives you so much extra mana regen for both Varus and Nidalee to throw out all of this poke.
Yeah, for Dark Passage, it's not very beneficial, simply because they're going up against an all-in composition. If they do get bursted down, then that's their threat, that's their worry. They're not really looking to take elongated fights unless if it's on their terms. So right now, they're just looking to deny. If they get these dragons, that's well and good for them, simply just because they're denying it from INTZ. The dragons that really work for them are Earth dragons here.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things going in Dark Passage's favor. Not only do they have control over the Drakes, you know, the fact that they've just picked up QSS because their 80 carry is so far ahead. You know, that takes another member away from really being able to be locked down by Talkers. I think that was one of the last win conditions we were looking at, is, you know, Zeit not getting blown up and Elwyn trying to join the fight by Shen ulti and not getting there in time. All of a sudden it's a 3v5, but no teleport available for Yang for another couple of minutes. It makes that increasingly difficult to execute upon.
And they've actually just hit their power spike here, double Muramana.
Yeah, no, they're huge.
It's a 9,000 gold lead right now for Dark Passage. It only seems to be extending organically, and they're not over-pushing this advantage that they have. They're using it to build vision to get exactly what you were saying, Spawn. I mean, just key vision on the top side of the map. Able to move more freely throughout this jungle as Revolta just can't find a flank, and he's desperately trying to put wards back in.
Yeah, and they really get it through. And they don't have Sivir here to really defend. They can get quite a bit of chip damage if they wanted to. So INTZ, they either have to commit, or they just have to walk away.
I mean, they still have pretty good wave clear. It's just that the damage that comes out afterwards, I don't think you want to tank up that turret, although they do have Karay for some healing, so, you know, it's not all that bad.
Mountain Drake, Ocean Drakes as well.
Wave crashing in bottom side too, so Dark Passage have so much power here. They can actually stall it if they want. They probably won't look to do so, but if they would like to, Yang is here not showing into the bottom lane, so they can actually just stall this out. Elwyn is actually just going to...
This is the one time you just have to go right now. I mean, Mikau gets blown up, so they can't even do it. I mean, this is just such a bad situation for INTZ to be in. They have zero answer for this poke comp now that they've fallen this far behind.
Not a whole lot of options.
You're
happy to stay up here on the top side of the map.
Yeah, and it opens up the pick bands quite a bit. If Dark Passage come away with the win here, now INTZ is going to go into the back, try and figure out what they want to take away. Cassiopeia is gone. The rest of the picks...
Can they do it quick enough? I really don't like the fact that this is a call, because this is the one way that you can give a game back.
They should disengage from this.
Yeah, they should just leave. There's no point that you do it anymore.
Why are they looking for
Kozky's looking for it as Revolta falls down very low. Kozky flashes after him, but might be in trouble now as Kirei pounces on top. Macau now has to go 1v1. He's not going to do it. Piercing Arrow locks down the kill. They're just too far ahead. Tokka's now in the back line, was trying to lock up the members of Dark Passage and now being a bit of a nuisance. I have a feeling he'll fall down as Zeitnot grabs the kill. Now Kozky stunned against the wall. Jockster keeping control.
So they win the team fight there. They are able to pick up 3 members. That means that they'll be able to go back towards the Baron. So nice play out of Dark Passage. Probably should have just disengaged. Was a little bit of a needless risk, but at the end of the day, they roll the dice, and they're going to be able to continue to grow what now is like, what, a 14,000 gold lead at only 30 minutes into the game?
Yeah, and it's only going to get bigger, especially since they are looking to take those random risks. Yang, on the other hand, trying to get something off of it. Kozky's just going to blow him up.
He's going to try to. Does actually get himself out of there for the moment, but the Piercing Arrow still a threat. Can he land it? No, phase dives there. Yang magically journeys his way out.
So if you're INTZ right now, it really does feel incredibly hopeless. That was the best scenario that they can actually look for, that team fight, especially in that position. They would like to get it. Now, Volta gets picked out here, and so he gets chased down Kozky, and Kirei just chased to get the kill here. And INTZ pretty indecisive of how they want to carry it out.
Well, I mean, Tokka's had such a deep flank and got exhausted pretty much on his ultimate, so he did 0 damage to Zeitnot, which is, you know, really disappointing. He was able to get into the back line, but he didn't have a dive buddy, and Yang, you know, take a second person with you, be able to blow them up in case you do get exhausted. But that's really nice play out of both Zeitnot and Rogu. We said these guys need to step up. They definitely have in this series so far. Won 2 pretty difficult lanes, to be honest. And, you know, Kirei has just dominated Revolta this game. He's 3 levels up, and like, now only 2 because Revolta got his blue. But it's just been everywhere on the map that Revolta hasn't been.
That's 2 buffs of each as well that he's managed to steal away.
And that's been a constant point between both of these games. Even though Dark Passage lost their last one, they had poor matchups, and they still ended up winning through quite a bit. So, honestly, it feels like execution versus planning. And it feels like planning coming out of INTZ, they're not able to execute it a lot of times.
Yeah. Now, once again, I mean, it is going to be the siege set up. The last remaining inner turret to be taken here by Dark Passage. This is a massive gold lead. But still, wave clear's working out so far, and it's making it a little bit difficult for Dark Passage to really get the damage onto this turret.
Yeah, it would appear to be a 30-minute stomp, but honestly, at any point, INTZ can just take the game. They do want to scale out. If Dark Passage have a problem, here we go.
There's the Tempered Fate, lands onto Kozky as well as in goes Tok as he can ult himself, and he does so after falling down very, very low. It's a lot of damage as Elwin does take him down in the end. This inner turret is going to fall, and it looks like they're just too far ahead. Elwind now taking a lot of damage, but they're able to just take out the Sivir like she was butter. So Jockster going to follow as an afterthought as now Kirei trying to land the spears, and they're looking for this inhibitor turret. Dark Passage pull the trigger, and they do so beautifully. Yeah, they certainly do, and this is one of those times that INTZ, they have the right idea. We need a hard engage, but they just execute on it 10 minutes too late. Looks like Dark Passage is going to just look to push in and end this one nice and quick. 31 minutes into this game. Dark Passage so incredibly decisive in how they managed to play out this poke composition, and we had questions on Kozky's Varus, but it looked beautiful. Yang now taking a lot of damage, ults himself back out, but Nexus turrets are falling. Rogu now going to be smacking on the second one, and the Nexus is now bare 5 members of Dark Passage, and they'll finish off INTZ in a 31-minute game. But they had control the whole way through.
And that's one of those games that even though it went for 31 minutes, if you pick Ezreal and Varus, you can't win much quicker. That was like nearly perfectly executed out of the Dark Passage lineup. They get the early game they're looking for. They had priority in their jungle matchup. And, you know, even though there were so many windows for INTZ to look to get back in, they were the ones not making the players this time around.
Yeah, and that was huge props to Kozky and Kirei. Kirei especially, I think that there were certain points where he had no reason to come out with pressure, but every single point he came out and was able to control things as well. And this was a great play where Kozky and Kirei were able to get their mid lane matchups working out quite well for them.
And one more time, look how close Jockster is to that skirmish. This one was a little bit different because, you know, double teleports coming in, and it's Kozky who actually gets a great flank and just so much damage, and the double teleport is too late. So I think that this was one of the times that INTZ actually had the right idea, but they weren't able to execute upon it because CosQ blew a member up before they were able to get in there. It means that, you know, the 2 members on the back line, it's not a pincer anymore, it's just a 2v5, which is not what they're looking for. They were able to get 1 kill, and then, you know, this was maybe an over-aggressive play, but Correa able to just deliver for his team time and time again.
Yeah, and if you get the Nidalee pick, if you're able to get the early game snowballing for you, you're just going to be such a massive force in team fights and sieges. It feels like that's the best champion ever. If you can get that, if you can get the ball rolling for you. So, great pick. He was able to work well around it. It's a lot of comfort coming out of there.
Yeah, it certainly was. One more time, exhaust onto Tockers, can't lock down CosQ, who was able to fly out, and then, you know, the follow-up damage out of this persistent poke comp, we keep mentioning it, is just so damn high. Really nice execution there. You can see the idea from INTZ. I actually respect that. If you're going to lose a game, lose it by throwing everything, like, you know, trying to execute one last time. But at the end of the day, Dark Passage, 2 early games in a row have just been too good. And they shouldn't have been. Like, the lanes were, like, the thing that's impressive is this isn't Dark Passage picking for laning phase and snowballing off that. They're picking very specific comps, you know, a 1-4, now a poke comp, and getting ahead in the laning phase just because they're better laners, it looks like.
Yeah.
At least this game, this series, right?
I've mentioned it earlier. It's come down to execution versus actual planning. The actual strategy and planning coming out of INTZ is spot on, but once again, it shows that Dark Passage, they're executing much better. Honestly, even if the plan isn't very sound, even if they should be looking for another strategy altogether, they just come out through the standard lanes, they win out through standard lanes, win out through the jungle matchup. Sure, the jungle matchup works well for Correa, but honestly, the mid lane jungle from Gragas and Lissandra should have been able to hold their pinks very strongly, but Correa was constantly able to get proper pokes down constantly and protect his pinks.
And yeah, beyond that, I mean... This is one of the matchups where Revolta's mid lane was, jungle was actually lost by mid lane. He gets poked out early. The freeze is coming in. He's like, oh, I have to show mid. The last thing you want to do is allow Nidalee to, you know, take over your Raptor pit the way she did, then come mid lane, rotate, you know, they pick up a first blood. I really think that Tockers, you know, needs to step up because, especially against Varus, that's a lane that you just shove out and leave as Lissandra. You just never try and fight him. He got zoned off incredibly early, and Revolta had to try and come save him. It didn't work.
Yeah, dangerous, dangerous times. But that is only game number 2. Now we have basically a best of 3 series as we're all tied up 1-1 in this best of 5. We'll get to game number 3 right after the break.